171,000 patients had to travel for an abortion in 2023. Many of these patients endured multi-day trips, lost income, and increased childcare costs. But not everyone was able to travel. We know that in the first half of 2023, almost a quarter of women living in states with near total bans who may have otherwise sought an abortion did not get one. It is more dangerous to try to have a child in states that ban or restrict reproductive care, including abortion. In fact, maternal death rates are 62% higher in these states, with 2/3 of the country's OBGYNs reporting that the Dobbs decision worsened pregnancy outcomes. And while many survive, there are increased complications for those trying to have children as life-saving treatments like D&C procedures for miscarriages and ectopic pregnancies are delayed or inaccessible. We hold that women who are pregnant are more likely to be abused or even die at the hands of their partners in states where they cannot access reproductive care. In fact, the leading cause of death of pregnant people in the United States is homicide. Today, living 2 years post-Roe, we mourn for all those who have been stripped of their right to make personal decisions about their lives and futures. When we lost Roe, far too many lost their autonomy in an instant, and we hold all of them, all of you, all of us in our hearts together today. And so today is our communal day for mourning together, honoring all those who have suffered because of bans and recommitting to the work of fighting for reproductive freedom for all. Our goal is not to get back to Roe. Our goal is so much bigger than that. A country where everyone can make their own health and moral informed decisions without government interference and have access to full comprehensive reproductive care without stigma or shame. This is what our Jewish values compel us to fight for. And so as we begin today, I am so honored to welcome Jess Kalb, who is joining us today from Louisville, Kentucky, to share her story. Jess is a strong Jewish advocate for abortion access and one of 3 plaintiffs in the case Sobel versus Cameron, a case challenging Kentucky's trigger abortion ban on the grounds of religious freedom. Thank you for being here, Jess.
Thank you. And I'm honored to speak today on such an important occasion, such an important and unfortunate occasion as the 2-year anniversary of the loss of Roe. Thank you to the National Council for Jewish Women for inviting me and for making this space for us today. I want to take a moment to tell you a little bit about what happened in Kentucky when Roe was overturned. I had just moved back to Kentucky and had planned to expand my family. I got a call from my best friend, Lisa Sobel, who's also on this case, to let me know that Roe had actually been overturned. It was something that even at that moment, we didn't think would really happen. Today, I'm here to talk about my personal experience over the last 2 years and what suing our Attorney General has meant. I get a lot of questions. I live in a red state. I work for a synagogue. I get questions that are sometimes hostile and sometimes kind, sometimes centered around politics, sometimes centered around others' personal experiences. But a really big one that I've been faced with is, why would someone like me, a Jewish mom who wants to expand her family, think that the most critical part of that is access to abortions? Legal, safe, healthy abortions. This question is not an easy one to answer. It's not one that has one answer, and I don't want to pretend that my answer is the answer for all. Every woman finds herself in need of healthcare for different reasons, but today I'm going to speak to my own. I have polycystic ovarian syndrome, PCOS as it's commonly called. It's a condition that affects about 13% of women in their reproductive or childbearing years. Over 5 million women in the US alone have PCOS. PCOS does a number of things in my body, including increasing my chances for diabetes, weight gain. It lowers life expectancy. They're now thinking by about 15 years. It's a profound diagnosis that I believe is minimized a little too much. One of the big pieces for PCOS and myself is subfertility. This means that I can get pregnant without medical intervention, but I cannot stay pregnant without medical intervention. I underwent years of fertility treatments, including IVF, to get pregnant. During that time, I experienced more than 17 miscarriages.
Hi, Joy.
Five of
Listening
which
to the now.
5 of which required medical intervention, including abortions. These procedures that I needed to try to grow my family are now illegal in the state in which I live. I've had to come to terms with the fact that I cannot grow my family safely right now where I live. The only options for me, if I choose to try to grow my family, are to take a chance on implanting a fetus, attempting to grow fetal tissue with medical intervention, and then waiting to see if that life will take or if I will be forced to become septic before receiving the interventions that I would need. Kentucky can be a really, really scary place for women right now. But Kentucky isn't alone in this, and I'm not alone in this. And that's one of the aspects of being Jewish that I cherish the most, is that when there's something broken, we are called to communal, we are called to repair the world. I'm called through not just my faith, but through my deep, deep belief in my community. I'm taking this phone call right now from my office at the largest Reform synagogue in my state, supported by my rabbis and my coworkers. It's huge. This sort of support doesn't always exist around abortions. And for me, I think that comes at really the hands of 2 factors. One is that there's an ignorance around what abortion is. Because abortion, for me and for so many women, is basic health care. It's the basic need to be able to make decisions that are good for ourselves, our bodies, our families, with our doctors. The complexities around abortion and around religious freedom and around reproductive rights, we could get in the weeds for hours. But what I hope we take from this call today and from this important occasion is that our work is nowhere close to done. We've been fighting for 2 years to make changes, and we will continue to fight. Right now, my case is held in court. We have been on the desk of the same judge for 13 months. The biggest contention to my case is what they're calling standing. The state is claiming that because I am not currently pregnant, I do not need abortions, and therefore I do not need to have access to this health care. I would like for us all to recognize how ridiculous it is to know that a case that has already been going on for more than 13 months is predicated upon being pregnant. If I had filed my case as a pregnant person, I would also no longer need the reproductive health care that I'm seeking. All of these things are important. The space that we're creating here is important, and I don't want to take too much of your time, but I do want to acknowledge before we close how privileged we are to be able to hold this space and how fortunate I am to have the resources. If I did choose to put myself at risk, I could travel. I have supportive employment. I have my community behind me, but there are so many women living in our country today who don't have those benefits. I want to acknowledge how profoundly unfair and disproportionately these laws impact women living in poverty and women who don't have their community standing behind them like I do. These women are already marginalized and already vulnerable. And if I can do anything, it's to be a voice for the women who cannot stand where I'm standing. Thank you so much for being here and for listening and for offering your support today.
Jess, that was incredibly powerful. Thank you so much for being here. I think I speak for everyone when I say thank you so much for being here. We are inspired by your fight in Kentucky and know that the entire Jewish movement is rooting you on. We're going to now move into our ritual candle lighting. So please welcome Rabba Melissa Schulten Gutierrez and Kohenet Kashira Halev Fife. Both are members of NCJW's Rabbi Free Pro Advisory Board and incredible Jewish leaders for abortion access. I am so honored and grateful that you are both here.
Thank you, Shira. And thank you to all of you who are here, showing up, witnessing, bringing your hearts and your full selves to this moment. Roe v. Wade was always the floor and not the ceiling. Too many people lacked reproductive access, even under Roe. It was never enough. but we can also acknowledge that there were millions of people who were impacted by its reversal. Yizkor literally means may we or God remember. It is a word often used to invoke the communal memorial prayers, which are said aloud on Yom Kippur, on the last days of Sukkot or Shmini Atzeret, on Passover, and on Shavuot. Because we say it on these public days of gathering, Yizkor is often considered to be a communal prayer, but it is, in its essence, a deeply personal prayer. So too is remembering lives lost from abortion bans. While we are all impacted by large-scale communal policies, each life lost is personal. In Judaism, there's a custom to light a candle to symbolize the neshama, the soul, allowing it to burn until it naturally goes out. We do this before the practice of Yizkor and to mark the anniversary date of a death, the yahrzeit, as a sign of mourning, remembering, and honoring. The light serves as a reminder of the loss and brightens the home during a dark period. Traditionally, the light is lit in the evening, so those of you with candles can do so closer to that time as a personal moment, or you may join me and we can light together. As we light this candle, we offer this prayer. Candle. A prayer for those harmed by abortion bans. We mourn for as we light this candle, we mourn for everyone harmed by abortion bans. We mourn for millions of people stripped of agency and dignity. We mourn for those brought into or trapped in poverty and those unable to leave abusers because they could not access abortion care. We mourn for those who haven't had access for decades, denied essential care by structural misogyny, racism, homophobia, transphobia, ableism, and hate. We mourn for those mandated by the state to be pregnant and give birth. We mourn for those whose health was endangered by abortion bans. We mourn for those facing legal consequences for providing or helping someone seek abortion care. We mourn for those who wanted to bring a child into this world and who have been impacted by bans, including those now scared to get pregnant, those denied miscarriage care, and those now with barriers to fertility treatment. We mourn for those who died giving birth, disproportionately Black women, and for all those who suffered pregnancy complications. We mourn for those killed by abusive partners, since the leading cause of death of pregnant women in the United States is, in fact, homicide. We mourn for all those whose stories we know and for all those whose stories we don't. Abortion access saves lives. With this light, we recommit to the fight for reproductive freedom for all. Amen.
Amen. When someone dies in Jewish tradition, we often say, may their memory be for a blessing. And that's certainly an appropriate thing to say here. In recent years, however, Israeli feminists have begun saying, may their memories be for a revolution, to honor women killed in incidents of domestic violence, reminding us that those taken from us unjustly must propel us to fight for more, for better, for a world that is truly safe and free. We can and must make the memories of all those who have died a blessing and a revolution with our actions today. By making tomorrow different, we can end this. We can create a more whole, more dignified tomorrow for everyone. We can and must make the memories of everyone who has died due to lack of access to abortion a blessing and a revolution. When we do that, we not only honor their memories, we ensure that nobody else has to share their fate. In short, when we take action towards change, We are not only living into Jewish values, we are saving lives. We take a moment now just to reflect and to uplift memories, and I'll offer some song for us. Yai dai dai, yai dai dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai 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 dai, stone by stone, tear by tear, we release and create right here, stone by stone, tear by tear, we release and create right here what is gone. We build upon what is gone. We build upon stone by stone, tear by tear, we release and create right here. Stone by stone, tear by tear, we release and create right here as we grieve. We still believe as we grieve. We still believe. Stone by stone, tear by tear, we release and create right here, stone by stone, tear by tear, we release and create right here.
Thank you. This work needs all of us. As we mark this 2 years since the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade and ended federal protections for abortion, we know that our fight continues stone by stone. In Louisiana, in just recent weeks, the state passed a first-of-its-kind law to classify mifepristone as a controlled substance. In Alabama, their state Supreme Court has threatened access to IVF and opened the door to fetal personhood. These attacks could have consequences with ripple effects in every single state across the country. They all share the same end goal: banning abortion nationwide and making sexual and reproductive health care inaccessible. We know that bans on abortion care and attacks on reproductive health care continue to disproportionately affect Black, Latina, Indigenous communities, young people, people with low incomes, people in rural communities, and folks who already have the most difficulty accessing healthcare. Our fight continues. Everyone should have the ability to make decisions about their own reproductive lives and futures without political interference. And if there's anything I've learned the past 2 years, it is this: our Jewish movement is critical in this fight against Christian nationalism. The anti-abortion movement is the tip of the Christian nationalist spear in this country, seen so clearly with the passage of a Louisiana state law last week requiring the 10 Commandments to be posted in classrooms. Judaism offers us so much wisdom to fortify us in this fight. Yes, Judaism has long placed the life of the pregnant person over that of the fetus, and so much more. The Jewish story is one of continuing to find hope even when the journey ahead is grueling. The Jewish story is having the strength and forbearance to believe in a better world and then fighting like hell to build it. We are still waiting for a decision from the Supreme Court in Idaho versus United States. This case will determine whether abortion care is excluded from a federal law that protects patients needing emergency medical treatment. This case goes directly to the heart of our Jewish work for abortion access. as our tradition mandates that when the life of the pregnant person is in danger, their life takes precedent. And then after the first anniversary of the Fall of Roe last year, we released the Imagine Boldly a Possible World, our ultimate guide for our movement, to bring conversations about Judaism, abortion, and reproductive freedom to your family, friends, and community. You can get a hard copy or a digital download of that at ncjw.org/imagine. We also have a new ritual guide to use to mark this moment, or any moment that feels appropriate to mourn everything we've lost in the face of abortion bans. This guide is for you to use personally or together with your community, and we drew upon this guide today during today's ritual. And lastly, if you feel so moved, as a way of marking this moment, this day, this 2-year anniversary, we welcome you to make a donation to the Jewish Fund for Abortion Access. Your support helps us nimbly and flexibly address urgent needs, build our Jewish movement, and support people directly. So thank you for being with us today and marking this time together. I have never been more proud to be part of NCJW. Thank you to Jess Kalb, Kohenet Kashira Halev Fife, and Rabbi Melissa Schulten Gutierrez for leading us today and doing this holy work every day. Let's remember the importance of holding onto our hope. More of us are fighting for reproductive care than ever before. More of us are talking about reproductive journeys than ever before. There are several states with ballot initiatives on the horizon. Our Jews for Abortion Access movement is ever growing. We are in this work together and commit to building a more just world where we can all make our own decisions for our bodies and our futures. Amen. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Amen.